Okay, I get it. You guys want a candy caterpillar chapstick holder. I didn't know what this was until I started getting a bunch of comments on it. I finally looked it up. Apparently this has been floating around for a long time. I don't know why, I'm just now getting a lot of requests for it, but here it is. This, just like a lot of my other videos, will be a step-by-step tutorial, so I will be showing you each and every step on how to make these things. Let's start off with our materials. First, you're gonna need about 58 inches of a 1mm stretch string. For this project, I definitely recommend a corded stretch string, just because it holds its shape better and it won't dry rot as fast. But if all you have is plastic elastic, I encourage you to give it a try. 28 of that is going to be for the body, so it's going to be for this part here. And 30 inches of that is going to be for the head and the antennas and attaching it on. You're going to need roughly around 95 pony beads. 28 are going to be for the stripe, so that's going to be like these here. You're going to need 12 for the tummy color, so that's going to be these here. 36 for the entire body color. 2 for the eyes, 2 for the mouth, 8 for the antennas, and 6 for the feet. Now, I know that these pony beads don't match up exactly with what I'm doing here, because this little guy, I think, is the pattern that you guys had requested the most of. Try a little bit here with my like a little base head bead to try to keep this shut. It didn't work out, so just ignore that. But I think this is the pattern that you guys want to follow the most, which is like the hungry caterpillar version. So for this, I am going to be making kind of like my own version, just because I'm not a huge fan of this. If you are trying to follow this pattern, I will guide you in the right direction to follow it, if that makes sense. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you guys have been on the channel for a while, you know I don't like measuring my strings. I measure my string as I'm making this for you guys, and then I stop. Did I mention you're also going to need a chapstick? I doubt that you're coming to this video if you don't have a chapstick, but yeah, you need chapstick. All right, to get started, we're going to start with that 28 inches of the stretch string. Now, to get started, I am going to go ahead and add 4 beads on one side of my string, just like that. And I am going to go ahead and tie these together, and I'm going to tie them tight. Now, we don't want to tie it too tight to where our string could snap, but we also don't want to tie it too loose, because then our caterpillar won't hold its shape. Now, I have given this about 4 ties. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the small tail. I'm going to go ahead and take the other part of my string, and I'm going to take it and weave it through one of those pink beads. It doesn't matter. We're really here just kind of pulling this inwards to kind of hide the knot a bit. We're now going to be adding some more pieces to the bottom of our caterpillar. I'm going to add 1 bead onto my string, and I am going to simply just weave it over into the next one. And we are going to be filling in each one of these gaps with a single bead, making sure that we are pulling on the string tightly. Adding a bead onto my string, weaving over to the next one, standing up, and pull. And finally, adding on the last bead. We're still going to weave over into this bead here, but we're also going to be weaving up into this corner piece. So we're going to weave into these 2 beads here, and pull. And you should have a little square. Now, from here, we're going to start building up our rows. I am going to explain this as we go, but then from a point, it does get repetitive. And my assumption is that your head will be down if you are following along with me once you get in the rhythm. We're going to be building 11 rows total. So I'm going to have a little counter on the corner of the screen, and I'm also going to announce what row we are starting on, just so that way we can stay at the same pace together. So I'm going to go ahead, leave this little guy off to the side. And I'm going to start immediately with my stomach color. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do this ivory color, and I'm going to weave over to the next corner of my square. So the one that's sitting diagonal, and I'm going to pull. Remember, I'm pulling tight. Now for the rest of this, we're going to be doing the body color. And for me, I am going to switch over to this baby pink. I'm going to add 2 beads onto my string. I'm going to weave over to the next corner of my square, and I'm going to pull. Still keeping up with my body colors, going to go ahead and add on that pink, so 2 baby pinks, and I'm going to weave over into this one standing up here. I'm going to add 2 baby pinks onto my string, and I am going to weave over into the next corner bead, and I'm also going to weave through these 2 tummy beads as well. So I'm going to weave through beads number 1, 2, and 3. And remember to pull your string tight. Amazing. So we just completed our first row. Now we're going to start adding in our stripe colors. And that's going to be these colors here, remember. So because I am keeping a consistent color, I'm going to go back to my dark pink. I'm going to add this dark pink onto my string, and I'm going to weave it over into these 2 beads here. And I'm going to pull. Remember, pull tight. Now, as you're pulling tightly, your candy should start to stand up a bit. Now, if yours is not starting to stand up, that does mean that you probably did not make your base and these tight enough, which means I would recommend going back and retightening up those things. I know it can be frustrating, but trust the process. Now, if you were using plastic elastic, it might take up to the 3rd row for it to start standing up just because it doesn't have as much structural support. I'm going to add on 1 more of those stripe colors, and I'm going to weave over into these 2 pink beads here and pull. I'm going to add another one of those stripe colors on, and I'm going to weave over into these 2 body colors here and pull. And to finish off our 2nd row, I'm going to be adding on one of those stripe colors. I'm going to weave it over into my 2 tummy colors, but I'm also going to weave it up into the stripe color here. So beads number 1, 2, and 3. Pull it tight. So as you can see, it should start to come up like that. All right, we're going to go ahead and start on row number 3. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 of our body colors onto our string, and we are going to jump over to the next stripe color and pull. Adding on 2 more of my body colors, and I'm going to weave over to my next stripe color, and I'm going to pull. Adding on my next 2 body colors, gonna weave it over into my next stripe color and pull. All right, now we have reached to the tummy color area, so I'm gonna add 2 of my tummy colors. I am still gonna weave over into the next stripe bead, but I'm also gonna weave up through these 2 body beads. So beads number 1, 2, and 3. So weaving over and up. And pull this tight. And that completed our 3rd row. We're going to go ahead and move on to our 4th row. I'm going to go ahead and add on 1 of my stripe colors, and I'm going to weave it over into the next 2 body colors and pull. Adding on 1 of my stripe colors and weaving it over into the next 2 body colors and pull. Adding on my next stripe color, adding it onto the string, weaving it over into these 2 tummy colors and pull. And finally adding on my last stripe color, still weaving it over into these 2 body colors, and I'm also going to weave up through the stripe color. So beads number 1, 2, and 3. From here, it might help to place your chapstick in and start building around it. I know that I like to do that. Now we have completed 4 rows out of our 11 so far. Now I hope that you guys are starting to see a pattern. I'm going to go ahead and start building up those 11 rows just throughout the video, letting you know what row I am on. If you are still confused, don't worry, I'm still gonna be showing my process. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with row number 5. So we are going with body colors and weaving into the stripe colors. We've completed row number 5, moving on to row number 6 with our stripe colors. All right, I've completed my 6th row. I'm moving on to my 7th with body colors. I've completed my 7th row. I'm moving on to my 8. We are switching over to stripe colors. I've completed my 8th row. I'm moving on to my 9th one, continuing with body and tummy colors. Just completed my 9th row, working on my 10th row, switching over to stripe colors. All right, I'm coming up on my last row, which is the 11th. We are finishing off with body and tummy colors. I'm coming up on my last row here. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing that we have been this entire time, except I'm just going to step up only into our stripe color and pull, and that will complete all 11 of our caterpillars row. Now, if you want, chapstick sizes are all different. You can make this as long as you want. the last row just needs to end in body colors, if that makes sense. All right, now this is not necessary, but something I like to do. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a tie just to kind of preserve the tension here. As you can see, there's a tiny little loop of string right there. I'm gonna take my string, go right underneath of it, and I'm going to pull my tail through that loop, and I'm gonna give this a nice pull, and I'm gonna do it one more time. All right, now we're gonna be working on our little dude's feet. So your feet color is completely up to you. For my feet color, I'm going to choose like a little lilac purple because I have this like cutie pastel guy coming along. Now to get started, I need my string to be sticking out of this direction. So I'm just gonna take my string, weave it through that pink stripe bead, just to make sure we're sticking out this way. Now I'm gonna add one of my feet colors onto my string, and I'm going to weave down into the next stripe color. So just like this in this direction, and I'm going to pull. I am now going to take my string, I'm gonna weave back up into this stripe color. So right above here, might be a little bit difficult because the knot's in there. I'm gonna be weaving in this direction, and I'm going to pull this tight. This is gonna help secure our caterpillar's little feet. And now I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna weave back down through his feet, and I'm going to weave in this direction at the second stripe, so just like that. Now, if this was a little confusing for you, I recommend that maybe watch a few steps ahead and then go ahead and give it a try. We're gonna add the next feet on. I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna weave down into this third stripe here, going in this direction, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna add one of my feet colors onto the string. With my feet color on the string, I'm gonna weave down into our fourth stripe color and pull. I'm gonna weave back up through my third stripe color, going in this direction, and pull. And I'm gonna weave in this direction, right back through the feet, and pull. I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna weave down into our fourth stripe color, going in this direction, so just like that, and pull. I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna weave down into the fifth stripe, and I'm gonna weave just like this, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna add on one of my feet colors, and I'm actually gonna weave down into this bead here, so kind of, I guess, our last stripe, you could call it, and I'm going to pull. And just like before, I'm going to weave up into this stripe right above it and pull. And I'm gonna weave right through, back through that little foot and pull, and back through that bottom stripe. And now we have his first row of feet done. And we're gonna have to repeat that on this side using the same piece of string. I am just going to weave this string around until I get to the bottom stripe bead here. So it doesn't really matter how you get there, you just need to get there. Down into this body color bead right here, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna weave over to the next body color and pull. I'm gonna weave back into this corner here and pull right through that stripe. I'm gonna weave into these two body colors here. Gonna weave up through this little corner here, right through that stripe. Back through these two body colors here. And finally, down into this stripe here. So we should be at the very bottom stripe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna be doing the exact same thing. I'm gonna add on one of my feet colors, and I'm gonna weave up through the fifth stripe, so just like that, and I'm going to pull. I'm gonna weave back down into that sixth stripe and pull. And I'm gonna weave back up through the foot and pull. And I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave in this direction going through that 5th stripe. We're going to move up to our 4th stripe. So taking my string, weaving it through and pull. Adding on one of our feet colors. I'm going to weave up into our 3rd stripe and pull. Back down into our 4th stripe and pull. And I'm going to weave up through the foot again and pull. And back going in this direction through the 3rd stripe and pull. I'm going to take my string, weave in this direction through the 2nd stripe and pull. Adding on our foot color. And weaving up through the very 1st stripe and pull. Weaving back down into that 2nd stripe and pull. And weaving back through the foot and back through the 1st stripe and pull. Beautiful. And now we're just going to go ahead and tie off our little caterpillar's body. So just like how we tied it up here, I'm going to take my string in between these 2 beads. There's a tiny little loop of string. I'm going to take my string, go right underneath of that. And I'm going to pull this tight. And I'm going to tie this off about 3 or 4 times, just to make sure that it is holding its shape. Just because this final knot is the one keeping all of this together. Beautiful. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off my excess string. And now we have the little body done. Now I know the feet thing was a lot. I know it could be confusing, especially if you're not used to my antics. But the reason why I did that is because on this one, it just, like the way I did it without going through it 2 times, they just look super wonky and I don't know, they don't really stay in place that well. This really helps pin the feet in place. All right, now for my friends who are trying to do like the hungry caterpillar thing, your entire head is going to be red except for the eyes and the mouth and the antenna, of course. So keep that in mind as you are building, that I am going to be following my pattern all the way through the caterpillar. All right, now to get started, we are going to start the exact same way. I'm going to take 4 of my stripe colors onto my string, just like that. Towards the end of the string, I'm going to go ahead and tie this off, and I'm going to tie it tight. And once you've tied it off, we're going to go ahead and cut off that tiny tail. And just like before, I'm going to take the other side of my string. I'm going to weave it through one side and just pull so we can hide that knot a little bit better. We're going to fill in all 4 of these gaps again with our stripe color beads. So for me, that's that deep hot pink. I'm on my last one. I'm going to weave up into that corner just like how we have been, and then up through this corner. So again, just like before. All right, now we're going to start building up our caterpillar's head officially. So again, we're going to be doing this by rows. So there's going to be 6 rows to the head. If you are following along with me, if you want this tummy color to go all the way like this, then we are going to start by adding 2 of our stomach colors on and weaving over into the next point here and pulling. Now remember, my hungry caterpillar folks, you're just doing red. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in each one of these gaps once again with our body colors. So for me, I'm doing that pink. Same thing as before, weaving over into that corner and up through those 2 tummy colors and pulling. And now we have completed row 1. Now, if you are following along with me and my design, this is where we are going to add our first eye. I'm not being creative, I'm just doing black. I'm gonna add my black bead onto my string. I'm gonna weave over into the next 2 body colors to start our second row. Your next eye bead will be right here. And to my other folks, you'll just add a black bead and then just add a black bead. And now we're gonna switch back into our stripe colors, weaving on over and pulling just like how we have been, just like the body. And again, people following along with me, this is where we're gonna add our second eye, weave it through those 2 tummy colors and then up through the eye bead. And pull. Do you see why now I'm wearing a Band-Aid? Been making these all day. All right, we've completed our second row. And we're gonna go ahead and complete our third row. Nothing special to it. We're gonna be doing exactly what we did at the bottom. We're gonna start our third row with body and tummy colors. All right, now I have completed my third row. I'm gonna start my fourth row off, completing it all with stripe colors. We went ahead and completed our fourth row, so now on to our fifth row. This is where we are going to add on our caterpillar's mouth. And you can leave it blank if you want, you can add a mouth, it's up to you. And for my hungry caterpillar people who are following that design, you are just gonna be adding your mouth in between the 2 black beads, if that makes sense. So we're gonna go ahead and start up our fifth row with our body colors. And for me, the mouth, I'm gonna make it white. So I'm gonna add my 2 mouth colors on and then weave over. And we have now completed our fifth row. We just need to finish the last row, which is all going to be our stripe colors. Now, like I said before, for the body, you are welcome to make your head as long as you need to. Again, every chapstick's different. For this one, it's gonna be the opposite than the body. You wanna make sure that your last row is going to be stripe colors. Amazing, coming up on the last one of this row. And now I have completed the head of my caterpillar. It should fit on just like that, just like a puzzle piece. I'm gonna quickly tie this off really quick, just like how we did for the body. I'm gonna take my string right underneath that little loop of string. I'm just gonna give this about 1 tie just to kind of preserve our tension here. Now, flipping back over to the top of our caterpillar's head. If we pull it up this way, we're gonna see these 2 beads right here. That's where we're gonna put our antennas. So you're gonna take 1 piece of string. I'm gonna take my finger underneath the caterpillar's head. I'm gonna kind of lift up this string. And I'm gonna take my string, I'm gonna go whoop, right underneath of that, and I'm gonna hold it just like this. Now, your antennas can be as long as you'd like. I'm just gonna be doing 4. So I'm gonna add on 3 beads to start onto my string, down both sides of it, just like that. And now for the last part, I'm gonna take my bead, I'm gonna add it on one side, and then I'm going to tie my 2 strings together. I'm gonna give this about 3 or 4 ties. I'm gonna tie this really nice. And I'm gonna take my string, one side of it, I'm gonna weave right through the top of that antenna. I'm gonna pull just so we can slip the knot in there and hide it. And then I'm going to cut off my extra tails. And now we have our first little antenna. And we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So taking another piece of string, weaving it through this bead right here. For me, I'm going to start off with 3 beads. Remember, going down both sides of the string. And our last bead is going to go down one side of the string, and then we are just going to tie these together, pulling it tight. Taking my string, weaving it through the top, and pulling, and cutting off that excess string. And now our caterpillar has their antennas. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and attach the head onto the body. We need our string to be sticking out of one of these 2 beads here. The way that I'm going to do that, I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave up into this stripe here, going diagonal, and pull. And then I'm just going to take my string and then weave it down into that stripe there. So now I'm going to take my caterpillar, I'm going to match it up. It should fit like a puzzle piece. Except, you know, you want to put your head on in the correct location. Now, do you see these 2 body color beads right here? I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave it through these 2 body colors and pull. And then, I'm doing this loosely to show you, I'm going to weave up into the next one of my stripe colors on the head and pull. And that will connect your caterpillar's head so you can open and close it. Now, to close off our caterpillar's head, it can be a little bit tricky. I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave it right underneath this little loop of string here. So I'm gonna actually go in this direction just because it'll be a little bit easier. And once you do that, you should have a little loop of string. We're gonna take that tail, pull it through, and pull it tight. And we are going to do this about 3 or 4 times because this is connecting not only our head together, but also our head to the body. And when I'm done, I'm going to cut off my excess string, place my chapstick on the inside, and ta-da! You guys finally have your caterpillar chapstick holder. Oh my goodness. Mine kind of looks more like just like a regular old bug, but I think it's cute. Alrighty, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helping anyone who is looking to learn on how to make these caterpillar chapstick candy holders. It's a mouthful. If you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, please leave them in the comment section below. Your feedback really does help this channel grow. I'm also going to put my email up on screen. Sometimes you guys like to send me pictures of the things you make when using my tutorials, and I like to put them at the end card of the video. Alrighty, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye!